All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you so much for coming along tonight. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chelsea McGill, Thermomix consultant and team leader. And tonight, my team and I, we are the Terminators. We are putting on a budget meals with Thermomix class for you tonight. So we are all very aware that the cost of living is increasing. $12 for a lettuce is just madness. But with lots happening, we thought it's a really great time to really utilize our Thermomixes and show you just how easy it is to save money with your Thermomix. So we did a save money with your Thermomix class a few weeks ago. So we thought this week we'd do a little bit different and we would do budget meals. So we've got 4 beautiful meals and one side to show you tonight, all crazy cheap, full of nutrients, no nasties, and they really tick all the boxes. I do ask that you all stay on mute for us tonight. Just because when you come off mute, the background noise is a little bit distracting for those that are watching, but we would absolutely love for you to interact with us. So we have our chat box down here below, and I'm just going to pop a little hello in it, so hopefully you guys can find it. And I would love if you could please pop in the chat box tonight. If you have a Thermomix, which model do you have? If you don't have a Thermomix, pop that in and let us know. So the more questions you ask us tonight, the more you are going to get out of this class. So please utilize that chat box below and ask us lots and lots and lots of questions. We'll either answer them in the chat box or we will read them out and answer them aloud for you. So please keep those questions coming, guys. We love when you guys interact with us. So again, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Chelsea McGill, consultant and team leader. I live in Bunyip, which is like the border of southeast Melbourne. And Gippsland. I've been a consultant for 3 years now, just over 3 years, and I've been a team leader for about 2.5. I was inspired to join Thermomix because I had owned a TM31 and then I'd upgraded to TM5. Absolutely loved my Thermomix, and my consultant had been trying to get me to join for years. I said no constantly. And then she told me the 6 was coming out, and I thought to myself I couldn't possibly purchase another Thermomix. My husband may divorce me. So she told me I could earn one, so I thought, all right, I'll give it a shot, I'll earn it, I'll stick around for 60 days and then I'm gone. And here I am 3.5 years later. So that's just a little bit about me. So again, please keep those questions coming in our chat box below. Love seeing what you guys are writing there. The girls that are cooking tonight, they will introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about themselves when they come up on screen to cook. But I am going to get started with our first dish tonight. Now, I am having a few internet challenges, so I do hope that everything is okay and works for me while I am cooking. All right, so I'm jumping over here. Hello, everyone. So tonight, my first dish is a puff pastry. So I would love to know, have you ever made pastry before, puff pastry, short crust, whatever it is? Let me know, pop it in the chat. So I've got this one in my weekly planner, utilizing my cookie dough. And we have here, that's my second dish. We have here our quick puff pastry. So puff pastry was something I'd never really made before. I was convinced that it was going to be really, really hard and it was just easier to buy store-bought. And then I made it for the first time and kicked myself that it was something that I hadn't made earlier, because it really is very easy. So I've got our guided cooking recipe up here, and it is asking for 200 grams of unsalted butter cut into small pieces and frozen. So I probably should have gone a little bit smaller, but I'm a bit of a lazy chopper, so that's fine. And I've had that in the freezer for about 10 minutes. So it is really imperative that your butter is partially frozen, because if your butter is not, it will melt really quickly when you're working with the pastry and it will turn into a bit of a slop. So we've got 200 grams of butter. I've got a little bit over, which is fine. And then I'll put my ingredients on this side. We've got some plain flour. So it wants 200 grams. I love that the scales are inbuilt. If you're like me and a messy cook, it makes my life a lot easier. And then I want 90 grams of chilled water. So I've just used regular water and added a couple of ice cubes in it to chill it nicely. half a teaspoon of salt. If you've seen me cook before, you'll know that I'm not very good at measuring. I'm more of a throw it in kind of cook. Then we're going to put our lid on. Now we've got 5 seconds on our timer, and our guided cooking is saying turn speed to around 6. All right, so that's literally a pastry made. It could not be any easier. It's got 4 ingredients and it mixes it for 6 seconds. That's it. So transfer pastry onto a lightly floured silicone bread mat. So here I've got my Thermo mat. These are one of our many host rewards. If you did invite some friends along tonight, this will be one of the options for you. If you don't have one, I do suggest you grab one for making pastries and doughs. They're a life changer. So really normal for it to look crumbly. So that is totally normal. So twist your blades back and forwards like this. And then we just want to push it together. So we're combining it. So those little kind of balls that you see are the butter, and that's what's going to give us that really puffy consistency. And then we want to push it into a bit of a square. And that is our puff pastry so far. So we've got a little bit of rolling to do. I'm going to put this one into the fridge for 20 minutes, and I'm going to come back a little bit later after the girls have done some cooking, and I'm going to show you how we're going to roll out our puff pastry to give it those beautiful flaky layers. So, all right, we are going to jump over to our next cook, who is Lisa, and Lisa's going to introduce herself.
Hi everyone, my name's Lisa. I'm from Thermomix for 6 in Kooyarra. So I have 4 kids and a hubby to cook for, so we are always cooking a lot of food. So we need budget meals as much as possible. So tonight I'm going to be cooking lemon rosemary chicken and rice. So I've already saved it to my weekly planner. So let's start cooking. Now this recipe is actually in ounces, so we just need to be aware of that. The machine has already transferred it over to us for us. So I need 1 ounce of extra virgin olive oil. We need 1 ounce of all-purpose flour. 3 garlic cloves. Now I've gone a little bit over because they were a little bit small, but that's completely fine. 1 sprig of fresh rosemary. Now I've got fresh tonight, but you can use dry just to keep it a little bit cheaper if you prefer. Half a teaspoon of salt. And 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. And some turmeric as well. So just 1/8 of a teaspoon. Next, I'm going to put our lid on. And it's already set for us. So we're going to do 3 seconds at speed 8. So that's just blended that nicely for us. We're going to scrape down the bowl. Okay, so this is the start of our lemon rosemary chicken. Next, and we're going to cook this without the measuring cup. So I'm going to put our lid on, measuring cup out, and this is 5 minutes, 250 degrees. This is in Fahrenheit and speed 1. Chelsea, do you want to keep going? I'll keep going while we're waiting.
Sorry, Lisa.
That's right. I'm just going to keep talking.
I had to run inside to the fridge. All right, over to you, Kirsty.
Well, Sorry, I keep getting notifications come up and it mutes me. My name is Kirsty. I am the Naked Mixer. Tonight I am making some lovely risotto for you, one of the most easiest dishes in the Thermo. I've got my new glider board here, as you can see me. Sliding it off my bench, but moving it around my bench so much more easier. I'll just move it into the middle so that we can see. It's fine. So I'm just going to go into my week. Tonight we had nasi goreng for dinner. I recommend making it. If you've been following me, I have been trying to keep all my meals this week under $10. I'm normally hitting around $11 or about $10.50, and tonight was about the same, but we had nasi goreng and it was really, really delicious. But tonight I'm making the pumpkin risotto with bacon. So I'm just going to click into the recipe and we're going to start cooking. We've got 40 grams of Parmesan cheese cut into pieces. I'm not sure I've got quite 40 grams. I just had what I had left in the, we've got 50, so that's even better. Whatever was left in the fridge. Next, lid on, measuring cup in, and we're going to go around to speed 9 for 10 seconds. It might just mute me out now. I've just stopped that a bit earlier. Once you get to know your Thermomix, or if you're already quite familiar with Thermomix, you'll know the sounds of like chopping and things like that. And that was well and truly chopped. That's my Parmesan really nicely grated there. I'm just going to pop that into a bowl and pop to the side. I'm going to go next. It's saying transfer to a bowl, which we've already done. 500 grams of water. Always making sure, especially if you've got little helpers in the kitchen, that your scales are tiered before you start adding things in. It's always frustrating if you go to pour or add things in and your scales weren't tiered. Has anyone made, is anyone making risottos? I hope so. This is going to be my lunch for the rest of the week. Next, insert simmering basket. I thought that was organised. So 300, we're going to skip this. Sorry, I totally forgot. So I cooked my pumpkin, I roasted it in the oven. You can follow the steps and do it in the steaming basket, but I roasted it in the oven because it gives it that little bit of extra flavour. So we're going to skip these steps. So I'm just going to pop this back over here. I've got a 10-week-old baby, so brain is still very, very foggy. Forgive me. So we're going to skip this and that, which you can just go here, recipe detail, and we scroll down. We've got our ingredients on the left-hand side and our steps on the right-hand side. So I'm going to scroll down to skip those steps. I'm trying to read backwards. Where are we? Oops. Now it's being a pain. Hold on. So scrolling down, we're not doing the pumpkin. We're going to go straight to the onion. So we're removing this, tearing my scales. I'm using onion because that's what I've got. And I'm also going to add some garlic as well. I feel like every risotto needs to have garlic. I've got garlic paste that I made here in one of my lives the other week. So we're just going to use like 1/4 teaspoon is more than enough, probably equivalent to about 2 cloves. Next, popping the lid on, we're going to chop all that up. 5 seconds on speed 5. Someone's just popped here in the chat, will you peel the skin off? I personally didn't peel the skin off. I just chopped, I'll show you. I've just chopped it up into little pieces, and I like the skin on. You don't have to do that. You can definitely take it off, but I've left it on. So that's all chopped. We're going to scrape down the sides. So that's our onion and garlic in there. So I'm just using my spatula to scrape down the sides like so. And we're going to go in with some bacon sliced into thin slices. So I'm working a bit backwards today. So I've just got some bacon that I've roughly chopped going in. I'm not too concerned about the weight. A little bit less or a little bit more is never going to hurt. It's only guided cooking. And look at that, I'm actually bang on. I'm not sure if you can see, that is bang on 100 grams. So that's always a win. 40 grams of butter. I make my own butter. So I've got my little butter bell here. I've just given it a wash. So the more frequently I've taught myself, I didn't know exactly what the butter bell was for. Does anyone use one? Yeah, I wasn't sure why we were storing it upside down, but the more you wash your butter, the longer it will last, especially when you're making it yourself. So I'm just scooping that out just with a spoon, like that. I've got 40 grams, 39. I'm on fire tonight. Next, we're going to put the lid on, and that's going to saute for... So we've got here our time, which is set for 5 minutes. We've then got our temperature in the middle, which is set to Varoma. So that's our highest heat function. And then our speed on speed 1. So
thank you so much, Kirsty. We will let that saute, and we're going to go back to Lisa and see how her chicken is coming along.
Awesome. Thanks, Chelsea. Ingredients I've put in have already cooked down, so this is what it now looks like. So it's a nice paste. What we're going to do is add our stock. So I've actually already made our liquid stock here from our stock paste. So stock paste is really, really inexpensive to make in the Thermomix. It's quite a staple that we use in a lot of recipes. So we need 24 ounces of that.
I'm just going to cut in for 1 sec there, Lisa, because I always find this an interesting one. Now, when it says for 24 ounces, a conversion to that is going to be maybe 500 grams. I'm going to take a stab and say something like that. So that is of mixed stock. That is not of stock paste. So I have had people say to me in the past, and my husband did it once many years ago, he put, 200 grams of stock paste into the meal. So when you have a really large amount like that, it may not say it, but it is meaning liquid stock, so not your paste concentrate.
Yeah, that's correct. So for that amount of stock, I think it was about 700 mils. I used about 1.5 tablespoons of stock paste, and the rest was water. So a very small amount goes a long way. We need 1 ounce of lemon juice. Half an ounce of honey. Again, you can up this if you prefer sweeter. And we're going to pop in our simmering basket. Next, and we're going to put in our rice. So this is our white long grain rice. We need 6 ounces. A little bit over, but that's fine. And we're going to put our lid on with our measuring cup. Next, and this is just going to wash it for 5 seconds, speed 5. Right, so next step is using some parchment paper. So what it actually says is you need large piece of parchment paper, and we're going to put the chicken and the lemon on this and then into the aroma. So just leave that there. All right, so we need to use our lemon slice. I'll do it here. You can actually see. So we're going to put our lemon slices here. So I've already pre-cut some lemon. And then we need to put our lemon slices, fresh rosemary, so some more rosemary. And then our chicken thighs. So this recipe calls for chicken thighs. You can use chicken breast. I've just got thighs here. I find these are a lot tastier. Price difference, they're pretty similar. So you're not going to, I'm just going to wash my hands. You're not going to notice the difference in the price. So chicken thighs, and then season with some salt and pepper. Has anyone made this dish? I would like let me know, pop it in the chat box. Next, so we're going to fold the parchment paper up and then pop it into the aroma. So this is a little bit tricky, so hopefully it doesn't fall out from you. I'm going to wrap it up with a little parcel. Pop that in now. Steam side up. We want to make sure that there is some holes so the steam can come through and steam that chicken beautifully. So put our parcel in the dish, and next we need to put our aroma dish on top. Next, I'm going to pop our lid on. What I'm going to do, actually, I'm also going to steam some greens. So I'll pop these on in about 5 minutes, just so they can steam nicely. And I'll just add a little bit of veg to the meal as well. So I'll start that, and back to you, Charles.
Fabulous. Thank you, Lisa. I'm just watching the chat box. Quite a few people have made this before and said it's really yummy. I've actually never made this one, so I'm really excited to see it tonight, and I'm definitely going to add it to my list. Thank you, Lisa. We're going to go back to Kirsty and we'll check back in with you later.
Perfect timing. That's just finished sauteing. So we've got our onion and our bacon and obviously our garlic in there. You don't have to add the garlic. That's just my preference. Next, we're going to add our risotto rice in. 320 grams. Got my scissors. Carrying my scales. And 3. Oh, I'm over. All good. Not going to stress. We're going to place simmering basket instead of measuring cup. Just hand into the dishwasher. Over the top instead of our measuring cup. And that is going to marinate the rice, simmer away for 3 minutes. While that cooks, I'll just move my sliding board properly, move it over there.
How good are those glider boards? Just watching you move that around with ease, so good.
Well, normally when if you follow me, you know that I'm mainly virtual. So normally in virtual, I actually will pick up my Thermo and move it to another spot. So having this is, and even while it's cooking, and the other day I was making, bread, and it was one of the ones, I think I was making brioche, so it needed to, it was about 6 minutes of kneading time. So to be able to move it around the bench as I needed was really amazing. I've got here some points to talk about saving money in your Thermo. I know not all of you have a Thermomix. I was just reading through the chat. Is anyone meal planning? pop it in the chat. Is that something that you do religiously during the week? Do you meal plan? It is something that I, especially since having a family, I've actually done it since I've had kids. I've just found I'm very much a control freak. I need things to be organised. So meal planning is huge in our house. But having a Thermomix and utilising Cookie-Doo and the access to, you know, connecting our groceries to Woolies has been super helpful in our house. Not only has that reduced our grocery bill huge. I think before I bought a TM5, and I think we were spending, you know, upwards of $300 a week for just 3 of us. I bought my TM5, cut it down to probably, I think it was about $250. Still wasn't that much a fan. Then bought my TM6, and now I normally get away with our groceries for $150. Obviously, at the moment, things are still quite costly, but you still can get away with, if you're meal planning, keeping those groceries under $200. Less waste, all of those sorts of things. This week I've got, what have we got in there? I'm just going to read the chat. I've meal planned since having my kids, but since my Thermo, I'm a little obsessed. It's like TikTok. It is like TikTok, isn't it? So I sit down on a Friday, go through Cookie-Doo. Normally on a Tuesday we have Mexican. That's something my little 9-year-old has decided that that's what we do. So we have some sort of Mexican dish. I normally try and aim for a meat-free dish throughout the week, and then some others. But I find utilising that, I'm not then making trips to the supermarket, which I would quite easily spend, you know, $20 to $50 in one shop. So yes, definitely utilising that meal planning function is amazing. And then, you know, if you are a Woolies person, then adding all your items from your shopping cart to Woolies and having them delivered or picking them up is amazing. So that's just finished there. We're going to go next. 60 grams of white wine. $65. I'm going to put our lid back on. And that's going to go for another minute on 100 degrees on speed 1 on reverse. So if you weren't familiar with the recipe, you can click on preview to go forward to see what steps are coming. So unlike me, if you didn't have all your ingredients ready to go, you can click forward to see. So we know our water next. We're going to need our vegetable stock paste, salt, etc. I'm just going to have a read of the chat. I never meal plan and dinner time is always stressful. That's not ideal, Eliza. Having a Thermo, especially for me, we've got a 9-year-old, a 4-year-old, and we've got a 10-week-old. We have lots of activities. We have dancing, we have basketball. What else do we have? Football. And now they're talking about karate or something else. It's just mind-blowing. But having a Thermo ensures that my kids and myself and my husband are still eating well, and we're not eating, you know, Uber Eats. Well, not that it comes to where I live, not that we're in the middle of nowhere, but it doesn't come here, but that we're not eating junk food. So that's really reassuring to me. It makes me super happy knowing that I can still provide amazing meals. So tearing my scales because I took the lid off too early. 720 grams of water. It's just going to run out and not be enough. It's 600. If it had been a bit closer, I probably would have just gone whatever, but 120 is a bit of a difference. There we go. Next, a tablespoon of veggie stock paste. Now, if you haven't made this, I highly suggest you add it to your meal plan to make tomorrow. It is the base of so many recipes, and also it's a huge money saver. Being able to make your own veggie stock compared, I've got a little comparison here in price compared to buying it in the supermarket. What is it? So we've got here, so to buy in the supermarket, it's $3.90 or 39 cents per 100 ml, so $3.90 per 1-2 litres. So to make 20 litres in your Thermomix, the cost is $5.80, which is a saving over the year of $72. So it's a huge, all these little things really do add up over time. And also, removing preservatives and additives and all of those nasties, definitely worthwhile. So we've got our table stock in there, vegetable stock, sorry, sea salt. I've just got Himalayan salt because that's what we use in our house. I'm also going to pop some pepper in too. Asking you to scrape the bottom of the mixing bowl to loosen that rice. So just making sure that it's not sticking to the bottom, burning. So just using this spatula alongside the blades to give that a stir. Next, popping the simmering basket back on. And that's going to cook for 8 minutes at 100 degrees on reverse on speed 1. And once that's finished, in the 8 minutes, I'm going to then add our pumpkin and it's going to cook for, and some frozen peas, sorry. And it'll cook for another 5 minutes and then it'll be ready to go. Over to you, Charles.
Awesome. Thank you, Kirsty. We will check back in with you in a little bit to see how you are going. All right. So we're back over to me and my pastry. So this has been in the fridge for 20 minutes. So out we get. Looking pretty similar, but it's just nice and cold. So the trick with puff is that it needs to be cold. Like I said earlier, if the butter melts, you're in strife. So I am going to add a little bit of flour to my mat and a little bit to the top of my pastry as well. So unwrap dough and place onto a lightly floured bread mat or surface, and then use a rolling pin, roll that dough into a rectangle 3 times as long as it is wide. All right. So you're going to hear me puffing because this actually ends up being a bit of a workout. So because it's got that frozen butter in it, it is a little bit hard, but it is a bit of effort rolling it out. So if I start to puff, please don't judge me. It happens to me every time I make puff, which is quite fitting. There you go. Maybe that's why they named it puff pastry. So we are rolling. Now with our cost comparison with this one, it only works out to about a saving of 70 cents when you are making it versus buying it. But I find with this one's not necessarily about the cost. It's about the taste and what's in it. So this is made with butter. Your store-bought puff is made with margarine, so it does not taste the same at all. So I'm really happy with that. And then we are going to fold dough into thirds. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to give it a quarter turn to the left. Quarter turn, that's it. We're going to add a little bit more flour. And then we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to repeat exactly the same thing 2 more times. So yeah, with this one, it's not so much about the cost. I mean, 70 cents over the year is going to add up and help to contribute to your grocery bill. But yeah, it's the ingredients. There were 6 different numbers in store-bought puff. So there was like 301, 107A, something B, which always really concerns me because that's not food and that should not be in your food. We shouldn't be eating stuff like that. So I find with the puff, may only be a small cost, but less packaging waste, less nasties or, no nasties, and it tastes so much better. So we're going to go again, 1, 2, 3, quarter turn to the left. The first time I read this recipe, I was a little bit overwhelmed as well. But once you make it, you see just how easy it actually is. And it does get start to get a little bit harder to roll as you get to this point. That's really normal, and this is where I start puffing. But just keep on working it. And remember, you want it about 3 times as long as it is wide. Your Thermomat is great because it has the measurements along the side. So that is really helpful. So what we're doing here is creating layers, and these layers are what makes the puff puff. So without the layers, you're not going to get that beautiful puffy golden crunch to your pastry. It would be more like a short crust pastry, not a puff. So we're going to do it again. 1, 2, 3, quarter turn again. I'm adding more flour because the more you work it, your butter starts to melt and you do get a little bit sticky. So don't be shy to add a bit more flour. And this is our last go. So we're going to do this one more time. Then we're going to go back into the fridge for 20 minutes or the freezer for 5 minutes. And then it is ready to use. So just make sure you are rolling nice and evenly. Like I said, it does get harder. That is normal. Rolling, rolling. I'm getting a real muscle burn going here through my arms. Has anyone made puff? Do you feel the burn? I can't read the chat box on my phone, unfortunately. But if you've made puff and you know what the burn is, pop it in the chat and let me know. Call it our pastry muscles. All right, so then I am just going to fold again, and I'm going to wrap it back in my mat, and you can put it into your fridge for another 20 minutes or into the freezer for 5. So I would normally put that into my freezer for 5 because that's a little bit quicker. And then when we come back to me, we're going to roll out our puff and use it in our main dish. So we are going to set this back in the fridge for a few minutes, and we're going to cut over to Alicia, who's going to introduce herself and let us know what she's making tonight.
Hey everyone, I'm Alicia, and my Facebook and Instagram page is If I Only Had a Thermo. So today I am going to be making a pull-apart bread as well as a soup. The really good thing about these ones is that they save you a lot of money, and they're good ways of using things up that you have in your fridge that are possibly going to go bad. So I'll start with pull-apart bread. For those of you who do not have a Thermomix is connected cooking, which means that it's fully Wi-Fi and compatible from your phone, app, desktop, tablet, etc., etc. So you can send all your recipes directly from your phone anywhere in the world as long as your Thermomix is connected to Wi-Fi, and that recipe will be there to view for you when you get home ready to make. So the really good thing about this that I love is the fact that I can be searching at work for what I would like to make, and I can set it all ready to go for when I get home. So this one, we're actually going to make some grated cheese to begin with. So by buying your cheese in blocks, like big blocks, you can save a lot of money. There's less additives, there's less air, and you actually get more per kilo for your money that you spent than if you were to buy it already grated. So I've just chucked 150 grams of cheddar cheese cut into smaller little blocks, and then we press next, jumping the gun a little bit, tear it back. So a Thermomix has inbuilt scales, so they're actually to the 1 gram. So it no longer do you need to weigh everything out separately on a little scale, so you can just chuck them straight in. And as you can see there, I'm 2 grams off 100, but near enough is close enough for me. Press next. I don't have any fresh parsley. I tend to not have a lot of fresh herbs and things. I'm kind of a bit of a plant killer, so I tend to buy a lot of things dried. So it's 2 sprigs of flat leaf parsley. So I'm just going to chuck in some dried parsley. So I don't know if anyone else is not a green thumb like me. You can let me know maybe some tips and secrets on how I can not kill my herbs and plants. That would be great. So we're just going to chuck the measuring cup on top, which is usually the standard to cover the hole in the top of the lid, so that when you are turning your Thermomix speeds on, things don't fly up out of your lid. So going to press next, and on the touch screen on the front here, you've got one dial that does all of your time, temperature and speed. Down the bottom here, it tells me that it wants to set to speed 7 for 5 seconds. So I've just saved myself some time there by doing it in the Thermomix instead of having to hand grate the cheese on a grater, and sometimes I end up getting my fingers. So that's all grated up for me. So it wanted me to place half the mixture aside in a bowl, one of the kids' little bowls, and keep the other half of the mixture inside of the bowl. So near enough. All right, next it's asking for some self-raising flour. So I don't normally use any other like little bowls or anything like that. I just whack it straight in the bowl into the Thermomix bowl itself. Saves on dishes, and the Thermomix actually cleans itself. So it's got an inbuilt pre-clean function. So for me, if it's going to wash it for me, why not? Because it saves another job that I have to do. So there's 350 grams of self-raising flour, 50 grams of butter. I'm going to hope that this little chunk that I cut off is close. 44, that'll do. Next, I've got half a teaspoon of salt. I just do it straight in, and I really guess with a lot of the spices, unless it's something really particular that it needs to be, then I just guess it in. Next, we'll pop that lid straight back on. As soon as you start to turn the dial, it's going to automatically lock the arms in for you, so you don't have to worry about that. And then we want 200 grams of milk that it's going to unlock for me. And the scales back to 0 down the bottom. And my husband's been into the milk. Oh, you don't laugh at me. All right, next I'm just going to chuck that lid straight back on again. It's just going to mix those ingredients. I really love making bread doughs in the Thermomix. It's so much easier than having to do it in you don't even have to put any effort into it. So I'm gone with the days of having to knead things out. See, I'm just going to slide this out of my way. I'm actually borrowing this off a friend. It's her ladderboard, not mine. I don't have one yet. Here's our dough. Just going to chuck it onto a silicone mat. A really good tip, just to wiggle the blades on the bottom, and it helps you get the rest of the dough out. This one's using milk instead of water, so it's a little bit more sticky. Next, and it wants us to roll it into a log, approximately 30 centimetres. So on your Thermo mat, everybody has one. They've got measurements on the side. So it goes all the way up to 60 centimetres. So you can sort of guesstimate on how long you need that to be. So I've just chucked on the side there, and it's relatively close to being 30 centimetres long. And then we're just going to cut it into 10 pieces of 3 centimetres long each. I've got this pretty cool little spatula thingy, so I'm just going to cut them off. I think that's 10, not actually sure. Okay, so it's asking us to press one cut surface of each piece of dough into the reserved cheese mixture, and then place that cheese side up in a prepared dish. So this particular recipe does ask you to use a bundt tin, but I don't have one. So I am just going to use a pizza tray. So just going to chuck some cheese on top. I'm going to go around in a bit of a circle to somewhat represent the picture that's on the front. I always love when you see the pictures on Cookie Do and you think, oh yeah, I can make that. That looks really yummy. And then my version of it is definitely not nailed it. So you have to bear with me with my cooking sometimes, not very camera worthy, but tastes delicious. So it's mixed in that cheese and the bacon into the dough as well as putting some on top. And trying to do this really quick so that you guys aren't getting hung up all night. And then sprinkling any remaining, which there isn't heaps, on top. That's that. Next, and we bake it for 25 minutes. So that's sort of how I've assembled it, if you can see. It's a pull apart bread, so I'm going to put them a bit closer together in a bit of a tighter circle, and hopefully that works out. So it's on 190 in the oven for 25 minutes, and then it's all ready to go. Now I'm going to swap bowls. Let me show you how it pre-cleans because it can take a little while. I already pre-saved my recipes earlier. So on your 3 little lines, you can go into my week, which I've meal planned out. And the next dish is actually a cauliflower soup with bacon dust. So swapping over recipe. Now, in the day when I got home from work, I quickly chucked in a couple of pieces of bacon into the oven, baked them at 200 degrees for about 20 minutes until they were really, really crispy. You allow them to then cool, which I have done, and I've got them on some paper. So they kind of look like bacon chips now. Just wants you to place them in once they're cool. So this is going to be the bacon dust, which is essentially going to be the garnish on top. So it's 20 seconds on speed 9. Drag that back over.
If you guys haven't tried the sunshine bread pull apart, or if you're someone who hasn't really made bread before, I highly recommend starting with that one. It's one of the most simple breads you'll make. There's not a lot to it, and it is so, so tasty. So definitely give it a shot if you've been a bit worried about trying doughs and bread.
Didn't hear a lot of that, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, so we've got 60 grams of Parmesan cheese, crushed, removed, and cut into pieces. So I actually have some Parmesan in the fridge that I prepared earlier, so sorry you don't get to see me making that into grated Parmesan. So to save myself that, I'm just going to not worry about that. So there's our bacon dust. Just going to grab my spatula. Because I don't have 3 bowls, sorry. We're just going to scrape all that down. And chuck all that in that bowl. The bacon dust is a pretty cool garnish. It can make it a little bit fancy as well. Especially add that tiny little bit of protein into a soup that's traditionally more of a vegetarian meal. Yeah. 900 mils of water. So this is actually a pretty much all-in-one recipe. Tear that back to 0. I'm 300 mil short. Normally I sort of guesstimate it in the bowl and then I'll chuck it in and see how well I've done, but see, now I've gone over. But yeah, it's always a cool way trying to guess how much you've done. in little Ziploc bags, I freeze up my vegetable paste. So when my veggies are going a bit soft in the fridge, I always make up a big bunch of vegetable stock paste. It's, again, like the meat stocks, a great money saver. You don't have to buy Vegeta or anything like that. And you know exactly what's going in it. Next, got 950 grams of cauliflower cut into small florets. Now, with cauliflower, I don't know about you guys, but when I cut up my florets, I tend to always leave the stalk. So you can use the stalk in a soup, even though you can use it in a stir fry as well, but we sort of don't use it because it doesn't look as appealing as, you know, like a tiny little floret. So keep all your stalks. You can use them for stocks. You can use them for flavouring into other bits and pieces. Don't throw them out. You definitely can use them. Like there's one there that I've cut up. I don't know if you've had a look in your food, but when you go to Chinese, they generally always have big chunks of them in there as well. So that's that one. Next, a bit of salt and a bit of pepper. So being that these are meal savers or budget meals, it's a great thing that we can talk about, the fact that a Thermomix at the moment on 36 months interest free is only $17 a week. So if you have a think about it in the scheme of things on how much you're saving or potentially could be saving in your weekly shop, $17 out of that week is something that I personally would not notice come out of my pay, because I know for a fact that just about every week I will go to the IGA or the foodie or whatever, and I'll pick up a 4-pack of UDLs or you know, alcohol, and it's always more than $25. So that's something that I don't think about spending. So being that I'm saving a lot more than that per week on meals, meal planning, making my own things from scratch, this is really good. As well as the meals that we are making now are a lot better than what we used to before. So this one's just going to go for 19 minutes at 100 degrees. And then our next step is to add some butter and olive oil to taste. And then we'll just give it a bit of a blitz up and it's done. So hopefully you guys will be coming back to me when I'm all done. But
perfect. Thank you, Alicia. We will come back to you. We'll get you to do the butter and that off screen, and then we'll come back to you for the blending of the soup and the serving of your soup and your beautiful bread as well. So thank you, Alicia. All right, and of course my Thermomix just decided to shut down on me. That's okay. So my pastry, I just did 5 minutes in the freezer at that time, so it is ready to be used. So it's looking really great. I'm just going to leave that there for a minute, and then we're going to move on to our main dish here. So I am making the platted pork pie. So I'd love to know if anyone has made this one before. Sorry, is it going to connect again? There we go. I'm running off a hotspot, so hopefully it's going to connect for me. So yeah, I'd love to know if you've made the platted pork pie before. This is a really simple one. And it is really cost effective as well. There are only a handful of ingredients, and I'm going to show you how to add a little bit of veg into it to make it go further. But also to add a little bit of goodness into your dish. Sorry, my internet is not happy. It's just preparing an online connection. So, see if I can get it to come up. Don't you love technology? I'm just going to, excuse me while I see if this is going to connect. Just saying connecting. So anyway, this is a really simple dish. You'll see there's literally like 5 ingredients. I'm going to add that extra veg in. So I want you guys to remember that you can add extra veg into any dishes. Pop it in the chat and let me know. Are you putting hidden veg in your meals? Are you chopping up some to make it go further? So now with like lasagna and bolognese and stuff, they're a really great example because I love making them. And say the recipe asks for 700 or 800 grams of mince. I'll only do 400 or 500 grams of mince. And then I'll do say 300 or 400 grams of veggies as well. So it's a really great way to bring the cost down in your meals, but also add that extra goodness to it. Still connecting. Adding all of that extra goodness into your meal. Our internet has been out for 2 weeks here. They were doing works and they dug up our cables and damaged them. So we have had no NBN for 2 weeks. And I'm not really sure when it's coming back, which is fun. If you guys can just excuse me for 1 second, I'm just going to have to go and get my husband's phone and see if I can connect to that. Sorry, if someone wants to talk for a minute, that would be fab.
Sorry guys, how good is technical difficulties? I'm not spotlighted because Chelsea is host. I've just actually, my laptop has just disconnected from the meeting as well. So I can't see the chat. Pop in the chat. Oh, now I can see the chat. Let's chat about some more money saving. Obviously tonight's class is around budget. You know, it's crazy times, expensive. So pop in the chat something you do each week to save you a bit of money, whether it be thermo related or not. Preferably thermo related would be great. But what's something you're doing or something that you're noticing that you're doing in the Thermomix that's saving you money at the moment? I know a huge one for us is yogurt. My kids were obsessed with the YoPro yogurt. So we were spending, people think I'm joking, but we were spending upwards of $50 a week on yogurt, which is absolutely insane. It's such a huge amount of money when I say it out loud, but that's literally how much we were spending on yogurt. So now I obviously make my own yogurt, and I have now found, which I'll just grab it out the cupboard to show you, it's a flavourless protein. Really fab for adding to your cooking. I have a 4-year-old who refuses to eat anything but air, so having this protein to add is super, super handy. So this is what I add to my yogurt. You can't see me because I'm not spotlighted, but it's actually called Feel Good Protein. I'll pop the link in the chat when Charles gets back. Really good to, especially to be adding to the yogurt, because those visited my mum today, and she said that she's seen at an IGA, she lives out near Lang Lang, the strawberries were reduced to $7. Absolutely insane. And without a doubt, most of those would have been brown. What have we got here? Some people are making their own condensed milk. That's a fabulous one. Bread, a huge saver. Milo yogurt. I really want to try this one, Vic. That sounds delicious. I seen someone post the other day about making like a yogo. So you use the custard recipe and then add cocoa and it turns it into a chocolate yogo.
Kirsty, thank you so much for filling some time for me. I've got Dean's hotspot going and I'm back.
Good.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened. It just would not connect back up to my hotspot. All right. So I'm doing a platted pork pie. A few people I've noticed saying in the chat that they have made them before. So this is a really, really simple recipe. So preheat your oven to 220, set aside a baking tray. And then we're going to place 3 spring onions or shallots trimmed and cut into pieces. So I've just got some spring onion in there cut into pieces. Now, a really great way to reduce the cost on this recipe is just to use an onion. A brown onion would work perfectly. I did throw a little bit of garlic in as well because I'm a believer that garlic should be in everything. And then, as I said, I'm going to get some of that veg in. So if you are wanting to bulk a dish out with veg, you want to do it at the same time as your onion or garlic that you're chopping. that's generally the right time to put it in. So I've got a zucchini and I've got a nice big carrot there as well, but you could put some baby spinach in or whatever you wanted. Now it only wanted 3 seconds, but I'm probably going to do 6 seconds because I've really added a bit of hard veg in there. So we're going to go around to speed 6 for 6 seconds. That sounded like it has chopped that down really nicely. So you guys will hear me say this constantly, and it's something I'll never stop saying. Guided cooking, it's not set in stone. So make as many changes as you like to suit you and your family, whatever you want to do. So we've chopped up that veg. If you've got some fussy eaters in your house, you could go again. You don't want someone to be able to see that, children, partner, yourself, whatever it is, you can go back. And I'm going to do another 3 seconds on speed 2. All right. That is looking really great. So scrape down the sides of the bowl. And now this recipe wants 500 grams of pork sausages removed from their casing. So you can just get pork sausages from the supermarket or the butcher, and you just want to run a knife down them and then peel the casing off. It's really, really simple. But of course, this week I could not get pork sausages at my supermarket. So I have just gone with some pork mince. So cost-wise, it's pretty much the same. I think adding that little bit of garlic in is going to give it a little bit of flavour. And this is probably a slightly healthier alternative as well. Now it wants some dried thyme and parsley, so a teaspoon of thyme and a teaspoon of parsley. So it is saying dried. I love how one of the girls was saying earlier about substituting fresh herbs for dried because of the cost if you're not growing them. The cost of fresh herbs is astronomical. You could spend $12 to $15 on fresh herbs for one recipe, and then you're most likely going to throw the rest in the bin. So just use dried if you're worried you're not going to reuse them. 20 grams of Worcestershire sauce. And then we're going to put our lid on, and we're going to go 5 seconds around to speed 4, and we're using our reverse function. So the back side of your Thermomix blades are blunt, and they are for stirring rather than mincing, chopping, that kind of stuff. Now, because I'm using the mince, I'm just going to give that a little bit longer because there's just a couple of spots there that aren't mixed totally, because the mince is a different texture to your sausages. So again, I'm just going to go back. I'm just going to repeat that step again. All right, so that's literally our filling done. So quick and easy. That's better. So I'm really happy with that. So by adding in that veg, I've added probably another 200 grams in there, which is another serving. So that's just awesome as well. So it wants you to place a puff pastry 25 by 40 centimeters onto a sheet of baking paper and transfer on to your baking tray. I'm just going to do it on my Thermo mat for now because I did forget to grab my tray, which is fine. So I'm going to roll this one out again. So my puff, look at that. I'm really, really happy with how that's looking. It's soft and really, really nice. You can see that butter's combined well. So it wants about 25 by 40. So using those measurements on my baking mat, as the girl said before, you just want to roll it out about that length that you want. I might even go a little bit bigger than what it asked for because I do have that extra veg in there, which is going to mean I've got a little bit of extra filling, so I could do with a little bit of extra pastry. Now, this is another one of those recipes that the first time I read it, I wasn't 100% sure what it was saying. Is anyone else like that? You read a recipe and you think, what does that step actually mean? So you will notice the TM6 does have videos on it now, which is very cool. So in a lot of recipes, and they are developing more and more, when you read a step and you're not sure what it means, a lot of the time a video will come up, which is awesome, to give you some instruction. I'm just rolling it to shape. A bit of a curve in it there, but that's okay. Rolling it out. So you're happy with that. So you want it to be, so essentially making like, almost like a giant sausage roll stuff. All right, I think I'm pretty happy with my pastry. You guys can see how that's looking there. And then we're going to place our sausage mixture down the centre of our pastry, approximately 8 centimetres in width and 30 centimetres in length. So I'm just going to grab it like this. All right, and then we're just going to flatten it down. And you want to have gap at the end and through the side. So as I said, about 8 centimetres in width. Again, using your mat, make sure that you're not making it too wide. All right, quick wash of my hands. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut the pastry on either side of our filling into strips. We're just going to 2 centimetre wide strips. The first time I read that, I was like, oh, but all it wants you to do, don't overthink it. Literally just, you want to do about 2 centimetres. Now this is a dough scraper. These are $3 off the mix shop. When you're using a thermo mat, make sure you don't ever use a knife on it. The spatula will also do the perfect job. So 2 centimetres, away you go. And the same thing on the other side. Now don't stress too much if these aren't all lined up the same. And then what we're going to do is carefully place a strip of filling alternating from one side to the other. So tuck the end up, and then I'm going over and over. So over and over. You just want to work your way up, across and across. Now, I think if they're a little bit uneven, it gives you a bit of a prettier pattern. So don't stress about that. I'm just going literally over and over and over and over until we get to the end. And then tuck that end over. And that is our plaited pork pie. So we're going to pop a bit of an egg wash. So just carefully place one strip over the pastry, alternating from side to side, closing the ends, and then brush with egg and place in the oven for 20 minutes or until brown. And that is going to puff up. It's going to become absolutely golden and beautiful. And yeah, it's so easy. And it was one of those ones that I thought was going to be really, really tricky. And I was so stoked when I worked out that it was not at all. So that is our puff pastry and our plaited pork pie. Absolutely done. Easy. I'm not going to cook this one for you guys tonight because we just don't have the time. I am going to put it in the oven, and we will all post some photos on our social media later. I will pop everyone's social media in the chat box so you can give them a follow and have a look at all of our dishes from tonight and this last dish as well. We're going to cut back over to the girls and see how their dishes are going, and then we are all done. All right, Lisa.
We're done. So this meal is really, really easy. I love that it's an all-in-one. So we've cooked our rice, we've cooked our chicken, we've cooked the sauce, and we've also done the greens on top. So I've just popped it in my thermos to keep it nice and warm. So here it is. I'm not going to spill it. So we've got our chicken, rice, broccoli. It looks and smells absolutely delicious. And as you can see, it's quite a large serving as well. So all we need to do is put a little bit of parsley on top. Now, parsley, again, is quite expensive, $3 for a small bunch at the supermarket. If you can grow your own, definitely do that. I am shocking in the garden. I literally plant things and walk away, and I've managed to keep this alive for almost a year. So if I can do it, anyone can do it, and you're going to save over $150 a year just in parsley. So that's our dish for tonight. It looks delicious. Cost $11.86 for 4 serves and $2.96 per serve. So really budget friendly, and one that the whole family will absolutely love.
That looks amazing, Lisa. I'm really excited to try that one, and I hope everybody else is too. And thank you so much for cooking tonight. Now you can, Lisa, follow Lisa at Thermomix46 on Instagram, and she makes beautiful dishes that she feeds her family. So jump on and have a look. We'll head over to Kirsty and see what she's up to.
My risotto is finished. So I added the pumpkin and the frozen